Tetris! No, that's all I have to say. I don't really know why I'm still standing here. I just felt like it needed to be said.
In 2018, the damn second coming of Christ came in the form of a 1.2 gigabyte file, and I don't think anyone ever actually ended up fully recovering.
And then 41 weeks and a day later it happened again, except this time it was a 4 gigabyte file and it was exclusive to the PS4.
Here's a fun fact about me. I absolutely adore Tetris. It's my favorite puzzle game ever.
I'm also quite the enjoyer of breathing oxygen and consuming water.
Saying Tetris is your favorite puzzle game might be one of the most basic bitch things a human being could say. I mean, it really is the puzzle game. It practically invented the genre. Everyone and their fifth cousin twice removed dog knows Tetris. But hey, I know what I like. There's just something about it that speaks to me like no other puzzle game does. So call me a basic bitch all you want, but I'm not gonna say my favorite puzzle game is Puyo Puyo for the sake of having a slightly more unique opinion.
That being said, I do actually very much like Puyo Puyo.
Anyways, back in 2018, a certain trailer was shown off during the PlayStation E3 show, and there was just something special about this trailer. Something about the way the music and the visuals worked so harmoniously with each other just gave the trailer such a powerful feeling. And all the while, a voiceover explained some scientific study and the impressive findings that came from it. And the way all these aspects blended with each other made the trailer so impactful and moving. Honestly, it's kinda hard to describe the feelings this trailer gives off and why it does so. The game this trailer was for? Tetris Effect.
It's honestly one of the best trailers for a game in my opinion, and I can't really put into words why, but I do remember seeing the trailer when it first came out, and I will never forget my reaction to it.
Okay.
In my defense, I was like 14, I wasn't really paying attention, and also I was not addicted to Tetris yet.
The game was developed to be a version of Tetris like no other. One that would attempt to fully immerse the player into the game through responsive visuals and music to create an almost zen-like atmosphere. And so, on November 9th, 2018, Tetris Effect was released exclusively on the PlayStation 4, being named after the psychological effect of the same name.
Wait, that's a real thing?
Way back in 1999, Robert Stickgold and a bunch of nerds at Harvard Medical School were running an experiment that focused on the role that sleeping and dreaming play in forming and improving new skills. The team initially tested it with the basic task of being able to find a target on a screen as fast as possible. They would have the subjects perform the task, have them get a certain amount of sleep, and then see how much they improved the next day. And they found that the longer the subjects slept, the more they improved, leading to the conclusion that during sleep, the brain processes the information it learns and turns it into a more permanent memory. Then later on in the experiment, Stickgold and his team refocused their test to look at the first hour of sleep and what happens there. And also, they changed the task to having the subjects play Tetris. They got together a group of 12 newbies who had never played the game before, 10 experts who had 50 plus hours of playtime, and 5 amnesiacs who could not form short-term memories. They do a bunch of testing, blah blah blah, and then the results come in. And what Stickgold and his team discovers is that roughly 2/3 of the subjects reported seeing imagery from Tetris in that first hour of sleep. Falling blocks, rotating blocks, blocks falling into place between more blocks, lines of blocks disappearing.
Dr. Mario!
Which, sure, that's all well and good. You could probably draw a variety of conclusions from all this information and call it mission success, but that is not where the story ends, because something absolutely remarkable came from these tests. 3 of the 5 amnesiac subjects reported having the same Tetris-filled dreams as the rest of the subjects.
That shouldn't be possible. Did I miss a page?
Well, no, it shouldn't have been possible, and while the subjects remembered nothing about actually playing the game or how to play it, they still managed to picture the game itself. This caused a complete revisit on how amnesiac brains function and store memories compared to a healthy brain, and it's not something we still fully have a grasp on. However, Stickgold's experiments did make one thing very clear. Repetition of a single activity can cause the brain to begin fixating on that activity and to start viewing everything else within the context of said activity. And given the Tetris-centered nature of this discovery, well, as the trailer puts it,
the researchers gave this phenomenon a name.
me every time. Anyways, so I just find the research and science behind the actual Tetris Effect to be absolutely fascinating. I mean, just even looking into it a little bit caused me to go in this huge rabbit hole of learning about how the brain works and processes information and saves memories and all that, and it was just so interesting. Anyways, let's stop talking about people playing Tetris and just start playing Tetris.
I don't actually know how to start talking about Tetris Effect because, I mean, it's fucking Tetris. You build a stack up, you drop an eyepiece in, you get a Tetris, rinse, repeat until you make a single mistake that quickly becomes 15 mistakes, which then forces you to play cleanup as you desperately cling to your run. It's fucking Tetris. I mean, I could talk about the addition of the new zone mode, which is actually a pretty sweet addition to the Tetris formula. As you clear lines, you fill up this meter, which then you can start to drain by pressing one of the triggers. Then all the gameplay kind of comes to a halt, and it's up to you to clear as many lines as possible to net yourself a shit ton of points. It's a pretty satisfying new addition, and also it does once you clear past 8 lines, and the new names for the progressively higher line clears past Tetris are comically long. I'm not even going to try to begin to pronounce that. It's a welcome addition, but it's also not something that's all that revolutionary. But at the same time, it doesn't really need to be. Fucking Tetris is fucking Tetris. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't really know what you want me to say. The thing is, much like that initial reveal trailer, it's hard to put into words how special Tetris Effect itself really is. It's just an experience that you really need to have for yourself to understand, but I'm gonna try my best. Here's the thing about Tetris Effect. It kind of walks this line between rhythm game and puzzle game, which is not a line I was aware even existed, but here we are. See, every action you make, rotate a piece, move a piece, drop a piece, clear a line, all of that has some kind of effect on the music. It plays a little sample that adds to the track. So I guess it's not really a rhythm game since you don't have to do anything and beat with the music, although you might find yourself doing it anyways. But it's this one seemingly minor feature that really elevates Tetris Effect as an experience. Since you have this control over the music, the game feels a bit more personal. You kind of make the game your own just by playing. And the fact that you have this control over the game just pulls you into it that much more. You become invested in the game. It's this strange calmness that infects you to the point where even if you play on expert difficulty where the speeds really ramp up, you still manage to stay on top of things. And if you mess up, you can still recover from it. It's this blend of influencing the music and the visuals to make an almost ethereal experience. Which brings me to the music and visuals themselves, which are all over the place. Now, when you hear something is all over the place, that sounds like it's a bad thing. It's confusing and hard to follow and jumps from point to point way too quickly that it makes sense. Tetris Effect is like the only game where that phrase is a positive. It's all over the place on purpose. It's designed to show you something completely different that you haven't seen before. Each level is audibly and visually unique, and that's taking into consideration that there are 5 ocean levels. There's a reason the main single-player mode isn't called single-player or campaign or anything like that. It's called Journey, because that's exactly what it's trying to give you. You'll go from the depths of the ocean to an Indonesian kecak dance, to an isolated walk across the desert, to a jazzy, bustling city, to a foggy, serene forest, to a firework-filled celebration, to the top of a mountain, to a parade of hot air balloons, to looking down at the Earth from space. It's a journey through every beautiful thing the world has to offer. Not just that, it's a celebration. Humans, animals, man-made, organic, huge gatherings, quiet solitude. It shows so many cultures and locations and aesthetics, and it connects it all. And it tells you that from the beginning. The song in the very first level is about how we're all connected. And after telling you that and showing you everything the world has to offer, the journey ends by asking you to come be a part of all of it as the best version of yourself. To go through a metamorphosis and come out the other end as a changed person.
What could you be afraid of?
This is a f***ing Tetris game! game!
What the hell kind of timeline are we living in where a Tetris game can provide one of the most unexplainably powerful and emotional experiences you can get? Somehow, the game makes you feel some incredibly raw emotions and gives an extremely wholesome message, and all you have to do is play Tetris for a couple hours. And sure, the lyrics to every song that has them may be a little cheesy and have no subtlety at all, but seriously, who cares? It's not something that needs to be subtle, and all the tracks are so good anyways that it doesn't even matter. Because the goal of Tetris Effect is to take something that so many around the world already know in Tetris itself and push that a step further to try and connect us through other things. To celebrate the planet, ourselves, and each other, and to bring all of it together.
This game was only on PlayStation 4 when it launched.
For a game that's hell-bent on bringing people together, it's weird that this game was PS4 exclusive for a while. I mean, it probably had something to do with the PSVR support, which, oh my god, I haven't even mentioned yet. It's like half the reason why I love this game. What the hell is wrong with me? So, Tetris Effect in virtual reality is fucking incredible. This is actually the first way I played the game. I went over to a friend's house and traded out, and I was instantly hooked. So remember all that stuff I said about how immersive and experienced Tetris Effect is? Now, take all that and crank it up to an 11. Just the simple act of sitting right up in these environments makes it so much easier to get completely lost in all the gorgeous visuals and insane particle effects, and it makes it way easier to focus on the actual Tetris gameplay. In my opinion, VR is kinda an integral part of the Tetris Effect package. I mean, it's my favorite way to experience my favorite effect in my favorite effect mode. Look at this perspective is so stupid and headache-inducing, and I love it so much. And
Wait, what do you mean I didn't talk about the effect modes either?
once you want something to do past journey mode, you can check out the effect modes. These are modes to give shorter and more self-contained experiences. There are the classic modes, which are more, get this, classic Tetris gameplay. There's the relax modes, which are much easier and more chilled out, a couple of which don't even have game overs, they just reset if you block out. Then you've got the focus modes, which are more about moment-to-moment puzzles rather than being a constant one like normal Tetris. Like you've got all clear mode, where you're given a predetermined field layout in Tetramino order and your goal is to clear the entire field, one of my personal favorite modes actually. Or there's target, where you have to continue clearing lines that include little glowing blocks. And then there's finally the adventurous modes that feature a lot more sporadic and chaotic obstacles. Like you've got Countdown that drops random eyepieces every few drops you do, Purify that sees you needing to clear out a constant wave of junk blocks and purple infected blocks, and Mystery which has you play just a classic marathon, but every once in a while a random effect will get thrown at you to make things more challenging. Sometimes these can be beneficial, like getting bonus points for line clears for a short amount of time or getting a speed reduce, but most of the time they're either or just plain evil. Like the adorable little 3-block pieces are adorable, but also not that much of a problem. The aforementioned up close, my favorite, is the same, but then there's the stuff like vertical flip, which I absolutely cannot deal with.
Wait, wasn't I talking about something else? Oh yeah!
For a game that's hell-bent on bringing people together, it's weird that this game was PS4 exclusive for a while. I mean, it probably had something to do with the PSVR support, and probably also had something to do with Sony just being dicks and buying exclusivity rights or whatever. Actually, on second thought, I don't even know if that was actually what happened, because there was never anything that said the game was going to stay a PlayStation exclusive. I mean, yeah, the game initially released exclusively on PS4, but I wonder if that actually had something to do with the VR support. Because in July of 2019, Tetris Effect came to Windows with support for Oculus and HTC VR headsets. So, I don't know, maybe they just did PS4 first because it was easier to develop for? I know nothing about developing VR games or how easy it is to put a game on different VR platforms. Maybe I'm wrong about this and it was just Sony getting timed exclusivity rights, but I couldn't find anything about why this happened anyways! Finally, in November of 2020, Tetris Effect came to Xbox in the form of an expanded version titled Tetris Effect Connected, which would finally include some multiplayer modes. Not really sure why there weren't any to begin with, but hey, this is great! Now we can finally start playing Tetris Effect online with other players on other consoles! Oh, come on! Was this really necessary? You guys really needed Tetris Effect, a game that's been out for 2 years to be a timed exclusive, just so, what, you could say it's an exclusive for your new consoles? The expansion is literally called Connected, and let me tell ya, it's a little hard to do the whole connecting thing when you can't connect with the other people who own the damn game! Thank you! And then the game finally came into the Nintendo Switch in October 2021, and now anyone on any system can play it and all is right with the world.
Now, with all that being said, let's see what this whole connected thing is all about.
The only thing Connected adds is a bunch of multiplayer modes. And yeah, well, it would have been nice to maybe get a couple more journey levels or effect modes. We also didn't really need them. What we did need was multiplayer, so it's good to know that's where all the focus went. So, what are these new multiplayer modes? Well, first off, we've got Zone Battle, pretty classic Tetris versus. Clear lines, send junk blocks to your opponent, except there's the added factor of the zone meter, which means you can now build up and send way bigger attacks than you would be able to with just normal Tetris. There's also 2 score attack modes, where you and your opponent just play Tetris together, no attacking, just see who can get the highest score. The normal score attack is just basic Tetris, there isn't even the zone meter, but then there's the classic score attack, and it's based off Tetris from the NES with all of its limitations, like the inability to hold a piece and no ghost to see where your piece will land. This is so cool! I mean, I'd rather still play normal Tetris, but still, this is so cool! But the headlining mode here is the expansion's namesake, Connected. This is honestly the perfect adaptation of the single-player Tetris Effect gameplay into a multiplayer experience. Instead of being a battle between you and other players, it's you and 2 other players up against an AI-controlled boss. Initially, the 3 players are separated and have to survive against the boss's attacks, which are negative effects on the players, a lot of which actually come from the Mystery Effect mode. But there are also some very disgustingly horrible new attacks, with each boss having its own unique attack. The bosses are split up into 5 progressively more difficult areas, with 3 bosses per area, with the 3 bosses within an area having a couple more minor attacks in common on top of their unique one. The minor attacks are really more inconvenient than anything, stuff like taking your ability to hold your pieces, or your ability to hard drop your pieces, or not being able to see what the upcoming piece is, stuff like that. But the unique attacks...
Allow me to go through all of them individually and extensively complain about each one.
Pop in and out. Honestly, it's not even that bad. It'll just add in or take out a couple random blocks. It's annoying, but it's not really all that challenging to deal with. Laser, how annoying it is depends on what you get stuck with. You could get a vertical gap, which isn't really that bad, or you could get a diagonal line and want to cry yourself to sleep. Giant!
This one's actually just funny.
Unstable. This makes certain upcoming blocks glow, and if you put 2 glowing blocks next to each other, they'll explode random bits of their surrounding. It sounds annoying, but it's actually pretty easy to play around. Hard field and hard block. You'll either get a line or a block that has to be cleared twice to be fully cleared, which, again, sounds annoying, but it's also really not that bad. Fast!
Well, what the f*** do you think?
How bad this one is kinda depends on the player's skill level. I mean, that can be said for all of these, but this one is probably the most since it just goes faster. So if you've played fast Tetris before, you're not really gonna have a problem with this. Twins takes 2 identical Tetraminos and puts them together. This one kind of varies on what the piece you get is. They do all kind of have the same annoying factor though of being obnoxiously large. The difference between these and the giant pieces is that the giant pieces are just comically large and never fit anywhere nicely, but the twin pieces usually get arranged so that they almost always fit somewhere, but never quite. Invert, god I hate this one. It just takes a random group of blocks in your field and just gets rid of them, leaving this particularly offensive hole right in the middle of your field. No spin!
Well, what the f*** do you think?
Again, it's kind of left up to the pieces you get, although if you know what you're doing, you'll probably be able to play around it pretty well. Trimino and Pentamino, these are honestly not that bad. I'm not sure why these are in the penultimate area. The Triminos are still adorable, and the Pentaminos are only mildly annoying. This attack is offensively bearable. They should have replaced it with, like, invert or something. Squeeze!
F*** squeeze. Absolutely f*** squeeze. It is 0 fun at any time, and it's absolutely the worst attack any of these bosses have. F*** squeeze.
Hide field!
Well, what the
I actually don't find this as annoying as some others might. It's kind of fun to try and remember what your field looked like, or use your pieces to scope out what the top of your field looks like. It's like the one boss attack that actually kind of rewards you for paying attention to what you're doing. I mean, the reward is just still being able to play somewhat competently, but still, that's a better reward than some of these other attacks like f***ing squeeze.
But probably the worst thing about these bosses is that they're named after the astrology signs.
And it all culminates in the final boss against the Tetramiden?
Nope.
The Tetramiden. The Tertiamiden.
No.
The Tetris Megatron.
Absolutely not.
It all culminates against this thing, which has access to every attack from every boss, and the attacks are way stronger and more annoying, and you have to beat the thing 3 times in a row, and it gets progressively harder, and damn it!
That's impossible.
So, how are you and your 2 friends gonna fight back against these abominations against humanity? Well, at the bottom of the player fields is a new kind of zone meter that all 3 players work together to fill by clearing their own lines. And when the meter is full, the coolest thing I've ever seen in a Tetris game since the single player zone mode happens.
I'm yours
It's this huge connected zone mode where all 3 fields are combined and the players can place pieces anywhere, and it's this mad scramble to clear as many super long lines as possible, and once it's all over, the lines get sent back to the boss as junk blocks. Now, there are a couple key differences between the single player zone and the connected one that make having 2 extra people a little easier. For one, when the 3 fields first connect, any loose blocks will fall to fill in any gaps, and second, players can get special purple blocks when in zone mode, which not only fall in to fill in gaps on their own, but will also push any blocks under it to fill in gaps too. These couple changes make it so you don't have to waste a bunch of time trying to coordinate cleanup if someone messes up, and the 3 of you can just focus on clearing lines. This whole connected mode is just honestly so cool and such a genius way to turn Tetris Effect into a co-op experience. And I'll tell you what, the mode truly does live up to its name. I introduced it to my family a while ago, and it was a massive hit. Ever since, it's been the go-to activity whenever we're all together. And honestly, I feel like that was the intention behind this mode. Rather than being a completely one-sided experience where one person is too good at Tetris and the other doesn't play a whole lot, leading to them getting absolutely demolished, Connected makes everyone feel equally important. When someone blocks out, they have to go through an incredibly lengthy revival process, leaving the remaining players to deal with whatever comes next. And the fewer players there are, the weaker the attacks become during zone mode, so every player is equally important. It's the perfect game mode to play with others, or even to just watch others. Much like the single player side of things, it's truly an enthralling experience. But it's for a completely different reason. Yes, the music is still great, and yes, the visuals are still mesmerizing, but what makes Connected so special is the community you form while playing with others. The memories you make from playing together. It's almost like this is the first step you take after the journey mode, to start to truly prove that we're all connected.
I honestly think Tetris Effect might be a perfect game. I mean, it's Tetris, it's kind of hard to mess that up, so anything outside the basic gameplay is essentially superfluous. But from the celebration of Earth and everything on it to the memories that come from sharing the game, it's truly an experience you can't get anywhere else. I've given a lot of reasons for why Tetris Effect gives off the feelings that it does, but I think the biggest thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that Tetris in and of itself is so inherently understandable that it really has no other choice than to connect us. What better game to show off everything unique about our planet, to connect us with others, to want us to be the best versions of ourselves, to highlight the complexities of the human brain, than something as universal as Tetris. When developing this game, the team wanted to make sure that everyone that played it would feel the positives of the actual Tetris Effect. That they would remember the game and the memories they formed playing it long after they stopped playing. And considering everything I've talked about, I think it's fair to say they succeeded. Actually, I just remembered this game invented the squeeze mechanic, and yeah, this is actually terrible. Damn it, I wasted that great speech on nothing!